guys, today we're going to divide. We're getting back into division. We're going to divide using an area model, and we're also going to talk about something called a number bond. That's something new for us, but basically what it is coming up with compatible numbers. So I'm going to show you two examples of how to do this, and then we're going to look at some problems on your problem set. So let's go ahead and start. 48 divided by 4. We're going to use an area model to find our quotient or our answer, but rather than keeping 48 all together as one large number, we're going to break it apart into more compatible numbers or easier numbers to work with, and that's where the number bond comes into play. And so with a number bond, what you're going to do is you're going to decompose your dividend, okay, which is 48. You're going to decompose that number into two numbers that are a little bit more compatible to work with. And in order to decide what numbers would be compatible, we have to keep in mind that we are dividing by 4. So with 48, I actually think that 40 and 8 would be the most compatible numbers to work with, because I know 40 divided by 4 and I know 8 divided by 4 pretty easily from my multiplication facts. So I'm going to take my area model and I'm going to partition, or I'm going to create sections in my area model, and now I'm ready to label it appropriately. So our dividend, so 48, our dividend, that is actually what's going to go on the inside of our area model. So these two numbers that we just created in our number bond, those are what are going to go on the inside. So we're going to have 40 and we're going to have 8. Okay, you're going to have 40 and then you're going to have 8. Then your divisor, this 4 right here, that is going to be our width. So our side length over here, that's going to be our width. Okay. Now with an area model before, we would always be thinking what goes inside of our area model. Now we have to do the opposite, and we have to think what's going to go on this outside length here. Okay, so rather than saying 4 times something is 40, I'm going to think 40 divided by 4 is what? Okay, so 40 divided by 4, that is 10. Alright, and then I'm going to do the same thing for my 8. Instead of 4 times something will give me what's here in the middle, I'm going to think opposite. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. Alright, now just like when we did our area model for multiplication, I now have to add those two parts up here together, the 10 and the 2. I still have to add those together, and so 10 plus 2 is 12. So that means that 48 divided by 4 is 12. Okay, now I'm going to actually break down all the operations that we just did over here underneath my number bond. Okay, and in your directions with the Eureka Math problem sets, you're going to hear it referred to as using the distributive property to solve. So with our 40, okay, we now did 40 divided by 4, and we're going to add that answer to 8 divided by 4. Okay, and so our answer to 40 divided by 4 was 10. Okay, and we're going to add that to our answer here, 8 divided by 4, which we said was 2. And so 10 plus 2 is 12. So that means that 48 divided by 2 gave us 12. Okay, now the number bond is something new, okay, but I think that it's a great way to visualize how we can make our compatible numbers that go into our area model. It gives us a great way to break it down. Now, you can do a number bond in different ways. It can have more than just 2 parts. It could have 3 or 4 parts coming off. It just depends on what compatible numbers your brain is going to use best. Okay, so we're going to do this one more time with another problem, and then we'll take a look at your problem set. Alright, so let's look at next one. Let's look at 96 divided by 4. And again, we're going to have an area model and we're going to have a number bond. And you see I've already drawn this number bond to have 3 parts rather than just 2. And there's always other ways that we can do this as well. Alright, so let's start with our number bond. Let's start with this. So we're going to take 96 and I'm going to divide that 96 by 4. And so here with our number bond, I've got 3 sections because 96, that's a higher number. And so it might be a little bit more challenging to come up with a number bond, but I'm going to think about all the ways I can get to 96. 96 is somewhat close to 80. And I know that 40, because I'm dividing by 4, and I can divide 40 by 4, I know that 40 plus 40 will get me to 80. Okay? And then another 16 would get me to 96. And you could even do some side work and you could say, okay, I've got 96, I did 40 and 40, that's 80. So 96 minus 80, that's a difference of 16. And that gives you your last piece there. Okay, so I have 40, 40, and 16. So what that means is that my area model needs to have 3 sections. However many parts you break your number down into in your number bond, that's how many parts need to be in your area model. So I'm going to make 3 parts. Okay, now I made equal parts. 16 is smaller than 40, so technically that part should be smaller, but for our sake we just need to show that we have 3 parts. Okay, and so I'm going to take those 3 parts, alright, and I'm going to label them. One will be 40, another will be 40, and another will be 16. Okay, and this divisor here, divided by 4, that's going to go over here on the side. And I'm trying to figure out these parts here. Okay, those are my partial quotients, if you will, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. Okay, so again, 40 times what would give me to 40? So 40 divided by 4 is 10. Alright, same thing here. 40 divided by 4 is 10. 16 divided by 4 is 4. Okay, and so now I have these partial quotients. I would add them together. 10 plus 10 is 20, plus 4 is 24. Okay, and so I'm going to show you what I did over here with my number bond. So with that, I had 40 divided by 4, and I'm going to add that to 40 divided by 4, and then 16 divided by 4. I ran out of room, guys, sorry. Alright, and so 40 divided by 4 was 10, plus another 10, and then 16 divided by 4 was 4. Alright, and 10 plus 10, that's 20, plus 4, and then 24. So my quotient, my total quotient, out of the screen, is 24. So 40 divided by 4, 40 divided by 4, and 16 divided by 4, those are your partial quotients. And our partial quotients are modeled in our area model. Remember, an area model is a model, okay? And we use that model to help us figure things out. Alright, now, an area model for division is a strategy that we must know. It's in our competency, it's in the standard that we know the area model. So this is a strategy that I want you guys to become familiar with. Using our arrays and using our multiplication to help us, and even those of you that are familiar with the standard algorithm, that's great, okay? But arrays, using multiplication and the area model will be our main focus, and the number bond that goes along with it will also be our main focus as we continue and wrap up division. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the first couple of problems on your problem set, and that way you guys can kind of get a head start in what you guys need to know, so that you guys can do the problem set on your own. Again, this is your area model. This is your number bond. And when it talks about the distributed property, this is what it's talking about. 40 divided by 4 plus 40 divided by 4 plus 16 divided by 4. We're distributing that division to all parts of our number bond. So that is our distributive property. So don't be overwhelmed when it says use an area model, a number bond, and distributive property. This is what we're looking for. Okay, and this is just incorporating a couple of strategies together. Alright, so let's go ahead and look over at our problem set. Let's look at number 1. It's talking about Alfonso and how he solved a division problem by drawing an area model. Okay, and so it says look at the area model, okay, that he's already drawn. It says what division problem did Alfonso solve? Okay, so if we think back to our problems, our divisor was what was in the middle of our area model. Our dividend was what was in the inside of our area model. Our divisor, what's on the left side here, and our quotient was what's up here on the top. So I'm actually going to label that for you guys. Okay, so this right here, that is our dividend. Okay. Alright. This here is our divisor. Alright. And then this here is our quotient. Alright, so now using that information, I should be able to piece together the division problem that Alfonso solved. So my dividend would be 40 plus 32. If you need to do scratch work on the side, feel free to do that. Okay, 40 plus 32, alright, is 72. So I'm going to have 72. Alright, 72. My divisor, so what I'm dividing by is over here. So I'm going to have 72 divided by 4. Okay, equals. And then our quotient is 10 plus 8. So that would be 18. Okay, so, right, so the division problem that Alfonso solved, we're looking at 72 divided by 4 equals 18. Okay, 72 divided by 4 equals 18. Alright, so with the questions that come next for part B, we're thinking about this same scenario, this area model that Alfonso drew and the problem that he was solving. Okay, so part B, it says show a number bond to represent Alfonso's area model. Start with the total and then show how the total was split into 2 parts. Below the 2 parts represent the total length using the distributive property and solve. So basically what we just did on our number bond, we're going to do the same thing here for Alfonso. So our total number was 72. Alright, and in his area model up here, we can see the 2 parts that are going to go in our number bond. We had 40 and we had 32. So we'll put 40 here and we'll put 32 here. Alright, and so that means simply I would have 40 divided by our divisor, which was 4. And then I had 32 divided by 4. Alright, so 40 divided by 4, we know, is 10. Alright, 32 divided by 4, hopefully we can use our multiplication to help us out. 32 divided by 4 equals something. So that means that something times 4 equals 32. And hopefully we can remember that that something is 8. Alright, so 32 divided by 4 is 8. Alright, and then 10 plus 8 is 18. And we see that that 18 matches the 18 that Alfonso modeled in his area model up here as well. We were able to see that those matched. Okay, and so that's what's important, is that we see that those match. Okay, we see that those match each other. Alright, so what we have done here is the same thing. We just kind of worked backwards from someone else's work. Alright, but again, our number bond just shows us what we actually did. It shows the steps, the procedures that you're doing in your area model. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at number 2. I'm going to do number 2 with you, and then you are on your own. Alright, I'm going to do number 2, and then you are on your own. So it says solve 45 divided by 3 using an area model. Draw a number bond. Draw a number bond and use the distributive property to solve for the unknown length. Alright, so let's go ahead. We're going to write our problem so it's a little bit more clear. 45 divided by 3. I'm going to get started with my area model. I'm just going to draw a rectangle. Alright, I already know that my divisor, 3, is going to go on the side here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that there. Alright, and then 45, I'm going to get started with my number bond. So I'm going to have 45. I'd like for it to be in 2 parts. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my 2 parts. Alright, and I'm dividing by 3, so I'm thinking 45, 45 is awfully close to 30, so let's try out 30. Alright, and then the difference between 45 and 30 would be 15. I can divide 30 and 15 both by 3 pretty easily, so I think those are the 2 parts that I'm going to create. So I'm going to draw my area model. I'm going to have 30 and I'm going to have 15. Alright, and so now I'm going to think in my brain, alright, 30 divided by 3, alright, or 3 times what will give me 30? 3 times 10 is 30, so 30 divided by 3 is 10. And then the same thing over here for 15. 3 times what will give me 15? 3 times 5 will give me 15. Alright, so now I'm going to model this on my number bond. So I have 30 divided by 3, and I'm going to add that to 15 divided by 3. 30 divided by 3 is 10. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 10 plus 5 is 15. And if I look over here at my area model, that's exactly, sorry guys, go out of the loop there. 15 divided by 3 is what's there. Alright, so if I look over here at my area model, alright, 10 plus 5 is 15, which is the same thing that I'm showing over here. Okay, so again, your number bond is just showing you what numbers you're going to put into that area model. What compatible numbers are we going to put there? How are we going to decompose our dividend, that 45? What are we going to do to break it apart? Okay, there's always more than one way to do this. Alright, there's always more than one way to do this. Remember, with compatible numbers, we want to come up with numbers that are easy for our brains to work with. And it doesn't always mean mentally. Sometimes you just need a number that's a little bit easier to manipulate, even if that means you have to write it down. Okay? So what you guys are going to do is you're going to work on the remainder of the problem set on your own. And you are actually going to complete the exit ticket on your own at this time. Okay? Today we are working on station norms. So everyone is doing this all together. Finish the problem set on the back and finish your exit ticket. And I'll be giving you directions verbally in class as we go to finish things up. Alright? So finish the back on your own. You're going to do the same procedures we just did. Area model and a number bond, and then model what you did with the distributed property. Model your area, what you did, or demonstrate what you did in your area model using the distributed property. Alright, good luck. Enjoy the rest of your day. Alright, I hope that we are having an on-task day. Alright, feel free to raise your hand with any questions for today only, as I will not have a small group today. So for today only, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to raise your hand and ask. Alright, thanks guys.